really stand out. It's here.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Knowledge is power, information is key, and that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. The Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Fantastic conversations.
Great to see you again. It's good weather. You want to agree with that?
Yeah, I love weather. Trending music.
I live the life that I love. I love the life that I live. Tomorrow.
Traffic updates.
Ojoba and Charity intersections is good. There's no cause for alarm.
Sports. And everything fun is right here on Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch that dial.
Gender equality is a human rights issue. It is about ensuring that everyone, regardless of their gender, has the same opportunities, rights, and protections. Challenging stereotypes, breaking down barriers, and creating a more inclusive society where everyone is treated with respect and dignity is a collective responsibility. Gender disparities start out small, in homes and communities, and these harmful gender norms progress and are perpetuated at the highest levels. In some countries, they become entrenched in laws and policies that violate the rights of individuals because of their gender. Discriminatory teaching practices and education materials also produce gender gaps in learning and skills development. Let us stand up for gender equality, support each other, and strive for a world where everyone can thrive and reach their full potential.
Knowledge is power, information is key, and that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. The Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We apologize for the 3 minutes delay. We were trying to ensure that everything is on board and we do not suffer any disruption whatsoever as we begin this conversation. I applaud your patience. Thank you once again. Welcome to the program, Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It is Trends in the Papers. Happy International Women's Day to all of the very strong women in the world, the ones that are breaking barriers, that are taking on role that the world thought was impossible to be executed by women, and even to the women who don't feel strong at this time, who feel beat down and unfulfilled. You're here, and that's all that matters. We love you and we support you, and we can say thank you to the men whose voice regarding gender-based issues are just as loud. You know, the men who call out bias against women, who stand side by side with women as they're taking their place in the world. We salute you and we definitely acknowledge your support. Well, let's move to the primary business of the hour. It's Trends in the Papers, Mainland 98.3 FM. We're going to take you through what the national and international papers are talking about today. My name is Sage Babalola. Soon enough, I'll be joined by Fuaside, who's our in-house analyst, who would provide some sort of clarity and perhaps remove all the complexities from these headlines. But before then, as our usual practice, we need to get into the stories that had made the rounds over the weekend. In the last 8 to 10 days, actually, there's been continued aggression reported in the Middle East. America is somehow at the center of it. Unfortunately, Nigeria, along alongside other countries, are sort of in the crosshairs. And we've seen oil prices skyrocket. We've seen the price of cooking gas, diesel, general cost of transportation, and so on. And negotiations seem sort of stalled, and there really is no indication that there's either side is willing to sheath their sword. Also, we had presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga on a program called Head to Head, and I say by Hassan Mehdi of Al Jazeera, and I might say that the public scrutiny that has sort of trailed that interview would ordinarily leave anyone perturbed by Bayo Onanuga's idea of that interview. And he sort of, Daniel Bwala, I beg your pardon, thank you, Daniel Bwala. For some reason, I cannot remove from my mind Bayo Onanuga. Daniel Bwala was the one on that interview, not Bayo Onanuga. Anyways, he has put out a statement insinuating the line of questioning was somewhat an ambush, and I hear he intends to right that wrong by once again having Mehdi Hassan interview him. To what end, really, is the question on the minds of Nigerians. But let's unpack some of the stories. We have the Guardian newspaper. We have report here, International Women's Day. Empower women to build stronger Nigeria, says First Lady. Al Jazeera never said they would challenge my past, says Daniel Bwala. Food inflation fears resonate over Middle East crisis. Tinubu condemns Boko Haram attack in Borno as NAF airstrike kills 50 terrorists. Gunmen attack Amechi's convoy, burn ADC office in Ubima. Chief of Army Staff denies loss of officer, 39 soldiers in Ngoshi Boko Haram attack. Impeachment move against Gwazo may trigger tension in Kano, Kwakwansia warns. IGP Disu appoints DCP Placid as FPRO. Indigbo rejects state police, backs regional policing. 2027, Showore eyes Tinubu seat, vows to fix electricity, insecurity, unemployment. Petrol price hit 1,040 naira per litre in Lagos, 1,080 in Abuja. Over to the Punch newspaper, trending story, 2027 opposition party eye consensus over costly direct primaries. Fintiri imposes curfew on Adamawa community over renewed communal crisis. Kwara government deserves credit for infrastructure, says cleric. Ekiti bans political parties, others from pasting posters on public infrastructure. Kaduna Electric announces power cut due to gas constraint. Release El-Rufai or file charges, groups tell federal government. International Women's Day 2026, Rep seeks 15% female quota in police, NSCDC. I think we can cap the weekend report at this time so we can delve straight into the most recent ones, although a lot of these stories sort of have an influence on the reports we see in the papers today. We'll bring on more for our side, but I think we should usher in the conversation with an insight on that conversation, right, that Daniel Bwala, presidential spokesperson, had over the weekend, where he was supposed to answer questions about insecurity and perhaps questions around integrity and those who constitute the cabinet of the presidency at this time. Don't go anywhere.
Tinubu never created a militia. Tinubu is one of the foremost politicians in Nigerian history.
Tinubu and his people created a militia. Who said those words, Daniel?
Tinubu has helped in strengthening democracy in Nigeria.
Tinubu and his people created a militia, Daniel. Who said those words?
Tinubu brought in leadership skills into governance.
Tinubu and his people created a militia. Who said those words?
Tinubu and his people never created the militias.
So why did you say they did on January 22nd, 2023?
I never said that.
The candidate of all progressive congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his people created a militia. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria we are seeing a political party creating a militant arm leading to election.
Does he have a militia that tried to kill you?
He doesn't have. I never said he tried to kill me.
I myself have received threats from him and his camp. Your words.
I never said that.
There is also this threat to life, and I can tell you that because I myself have received threats from Asiwaju and his camp.
You said it was so corrupt, the 2023 election, Tinubu's win. You said that you couldn't eat food for 3 days.
I never said that. Where?
And legitimate complaints were raised all over Nigeria. That part is what threw me off balance. In fact, I became so sick. For the past 3 days, I found it very hard eating food.
Tinubu is not just super rich. It's what he does with his wealth. In 2019, 2 armored money trucks, bullion vans, were seen going into his house, coming out of his house. Where did that money go?
No. Point, did you see the money? Or those who reported, did they see money inside the bullion van?
Was there no money in the bullion vans?
How am I to know?
You said it was money in the vans at the time. 2023, February.
But there is only one person in Nigeria who is alleged to have moved money through bullion vans, and that person is on their ballot as the presidential candidate.
On the eve of the presidential elections, 2 cash-laden bullion vans, your words, were seen on the premises, which was ostensibly for vote buying. Your words, January 22nd, 2023. Have you just disowned everything you've said in order to work for this president?
I'm coming. What you just said now, I want to put it on record on my own honor. That's not what I said.
Welcome back. Trends in the papers. Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. If you're wondering what I just played for you, that is sort of an insight into the interview that Daniel Bwala had with Al Jazeera reporter Hassan Mehdi, where they were talking about the state of Nigeria, and there was a lot of reference to comments that Daniel Bwala had made when he was still in the opposition. Well, joining us now for our side, we'll look at the papers, and we would open with this particular conversation and the scrutiny that has trailed his position and some of the issues, and for some reason his amnesia on certain conversations, one that he was a part of. Good morning, Fuad Said. How was your weekend?
Good morning.
Why are you like? Did I crack any joke? Why are you laughing? What did I say? What is this?
This one is what they call our Ḥakẹ́ríkẹ́.
Monday, Fuad. You need to be serious about the issues.
I'm good. How you doing, Faith?
I'm well, thank you. You had quite the weekend. I listened to Political Roundtable, and I just as I expected, right? This was a conversation. So, Fuad, I would actually like for us to have a conversation about this. So, the lash out, or should I say the feedback that has trailed this particular interview. Now, people are saying it's okay for your ideologies to change. It's okay for your opinions on things to change, as long as facts suggest that your initial ideology was flawed. You can have opinions about a person or something as long as it's not libelous, or at least you can substantiate such claim. The problem, however, is the absolute denial that you ever took that position in a bid to redeem yourself, because you are now a part of something that you had so heavily criticized. So let's talk about that. The supposed amnesia and the fact that people have dug up evidence, the fact that people say there was hardly any clarity to the questions that were asked, and the follow-up post that have been put up by Daniel Bwala, where he says that I was not told that I would be scrutinized about past comments I had made. I was told that I was coming here to talk about the state of the nation, to talk about the security issue, to talk about the strides of the presidency. This was not part of the preparation that I had done. Is that justifiable reason as to the performance of the presidential spokesperson as we saw over the weekend?
Well, again, that was a very disastrous appearance from Daniel Bwala. Honestly, I don't know, but ordinarily, if we had a working system, and I think the presidency understands what perception is really when it comes to public communication, he should have been fired, because it was a complete disservice. Because the reality is this, Sage. Who's going to believe whatever he's saying now about the president? Whatever he's going to be saying now, do you think anybody's going to believe it? Any serious-minded Nigerian, no, Sage. Even if what he's saying now is true. And I was having a conversation with some of our colleagues yesterday, and I said that, you know what? If you cannot stand by what you said in the past, why should we believe what you are saying now? Because you can wake up tomorrow to deny it. If what you said in the past, well documented with video evidence all over, and then you cannot stand by those words or the things you said in the past, why should anybody, any serious-minded Nigerian now, take you seriously about what you are saying now? You see, the reality is that, look, these guys are just political jobbers, Sage. Number one on the list for me is Daniel Bwala, and I'm happy that he did not stay at the local level to disgrace himself. He took his shame to the international level. You know, these are guys who are used to, having interviews in well-regulated media platforms in Nigeria. And when I say regulated, there's a way ownership and patronage shapes the way these guys are interviewed in many media platforms in Nigeria. You understand what I'm saying? They are able to buy their way through interviews. Even from his reaction to the interview, you now understand what they are used to getting in Nigeria. So sometimes questions are forwarded to them. Yeah. They know the patterns of interview, and that was why he came up to say, "Oh, they did not tell me they were going to ask me questions about my past. How stupid can that be? How nonsensical can that be from a presidential spokesperson? That they will not ask you about your past. So what were they supposed to be asking you?"
It's impossible to talk about the future without referencing the past.
I do you know why Mehdi Hasan? Look, he just made the job of Mehdi Hasan so easy. Because what the guy did was just stay on his past. If you listen to Barrister Curtis yesterday, he was almost like giving him an expo on how to do his job. Because basically, if he had owned up to say, "Oh, yes, I said some very terrible things in the past about the president, but now that I work closely with him, now that I have a better insight into him, I would say that, look, I have a different opinion now. Whatever I've said in the past, I would actually want to even use the opportunity to apologize to the president. And I see closely better as a better person. So whatever I've said in the past, I take it back and I apologize for saying those things." I am telling you, Mehdi Hasan would have just moved on. Probably would not begin to discuss policies with him, with figures and data. But because he kept denying what he had said in the past, the guy just stood on those things and made a caricature of him, made a complete ridicule of him. So again, I'm not surprised. You know, we have a lot of political jobbers, and that's why Nigerians have to be very careful. Nigerians have to be very careful when these guys come up. Some of them are going to come up now. We have a lot of Daniel Bwala, Reno, Mokri, Femi Fani-Kayode in the public space. These guys are political jobbers. They keep rolling around. They are probably going to be the heaviest critic of this government now. They will do everything to get the attention of the government. And once they get the attention, they eat up everything they've said in the past. And that's why some of us will continue to commend people like Omoyele Sowore, who have been very consistent for over 3 decades. See? And when I see people criticize Sowore, I just laugh. Do you think it is easy to be that consistent in a system that is so patronizing? Say, in a system where our politicians have it in their mind that what money cannot do, more money will do. You understand? So, but for you to have a guy who has stayed so consistent on the course, all of these people who started this activism together, where are they? Some of them are in government now. They are the ones who even criticize people who try to criticize government. If you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So, the shame is on Bwala. I have seen people say it's a shame to Nigeria. No, which Nigeria? Let me say now go there. It's a two-way thing. Shame on him and shame to the government he represents. Because I would have thought that there are better people of integrity, people who are known to be principled, who can be employed to speak for the presidency. Why Bwala? Some have said, "Oh, it's a strategy from the president." He either tries to bring you in to ridicule you, or to place himself as somebody who has a large heart. Either way, it is still a complete ridicule on the government he represents. You could see the way people were dropping their faces in their hands for him. A big shame. Like one of our callers said, if I was his child or his wife, we'll have a conversation.
And say what? That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do.
Is that the way to do the job?
Well, you can talk about competence, but you would have expected, and I agree that if
can we all just agree that he's incompetent, completely incompetent?
Well,
or was it just a situation of having a bad day?
I don't think it's about a bad day. I don't believe that you would go for an interview and not expect that they would infer or at least reference things that you have said before. It's impossible. If a Rano Omokri is on an interview, I'm pretty certain that he knows.
You saw that even when Ǹṣeun Baloyi held Rano Omokri, it became a complete joke on himself when he was asked about his past. You have said you will never work for this president. You said it's not in your DNA. And you said the way he was blabbing that, "Oh, I'm not actually working for the president, I'm working for Nigeria."
That I hear Fuad say that Daniel was thinking of going back for
a rematch with Mehdi Hasan. He's going to get it.
The problem is, why is this being treated as a competition of some sort? The whole point of the discourse is for solution, to talk about the issues and ultimately think up solutions. This is not a competition of mental acuity. That's not what we're doing here, and I think that's what this whole conversation has been reduced to.
You know what, say? That's why we keep telling people. have you noticed that, we might be heavily critical of government, but you know what we do, right? In our criticism, you stay on policies, not on personalities. You stay on policies. You can talk about their policies, what they are doing and what is wrong about their policies, how it's not had very good impact on the people, what they've promised Nigerians that they've not done. But when you go personal, half of the questions they asked Daniel Bwala about the president were personal things he said. You understand? Things he said that were personal to the president when he was in the opposition. He has a militia. He tried to kill me. He has a bullion van. There was money. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if he was in the opposition, like he said, those things he said were when he was in the opposition. As a person in the opposition, it would have been better if he talked about policies rather than talking about the personality of the person. So it's a lesson to others too who are in the opposition today. Be careful what you say, especially for people who are so pliable, who are so patronizing, who can be bought. And to the political jobbers of today, it's also a lesson. They are looking for job, know what you say.
Well, that is that situation. I'm looking forward to the rematch, as it's being called. I just really hope, as I said before, this is not reduced to some sort of I'm better than you situation. This is an opportunity to talk to the world, talk to the international community, and reassure Nigerians that we know what we're doing, and not that you're better equipped mentally than a reporter from Al Jazeera. That's not what this is about. Well, Fuad, aside from that, there's also been a lot of buzz around the confirmation of 65 ambassadors. President Bola Tinubu approved the deployment of 65 ambassadors designate and a high commissioner to Nigeria's diplomatic mission across the world, nearly 3 months after the Senate confirmed the nominees. The posting announced on Friday by the Presidential Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, include 34 non-career and 31 career ambassadors assigned to countries across Europe, Asia, Africa, and America, as well as multilateral organizations such as the United Nations. Among the high-profile non-career appointment announced by the President are former Aviation Minister Femi Fani-Kayode, who has been posted to Germany, ex-presidential aide Rene Omokri to Mexico, former Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Adambazu, who served as Nigeria's ambassador to China, and businessman and senator from Ondo State, Jᴏɪᴅ Ibrahim, who have been posted to as the country's permanent representative at the United Nations. So, Fuad, again, Nigerians are sort of displeased with this posting, especially for critical countries like Germany, also representation at the United Nations. The world is at the brink, or should I say the world is very volatile at this time, and countries that are affected, we can see the work that their representatives are doing in the United Nations. For example, they're pretty much trying to get the world's attention, and they have to prove why they're deserving, of support, why their position should be heard. People are asking questions: why Jᴏɪᴅ Ibrahim to the United Nations? How much clout, how much power does he have? How much, should I say, grit does he have when high-level debates are going on in the United Nations? There are questions around Germany. In fact, questions around countries that constitute BRICS, for example. These are critical countries. The trading ecosystem of the world is changing, and we need people that understand the ecosystem and can sell Nigeria properly. Do you think that Nigerians are just raising a storm out of a glass of water, or their scrutiny of these personalities and where they're posted to is reasonable?
Well, Nigerians are not raising unnecessary doors today. Those are, critical ways to look at some of these deployments, these posts. This is not the first time Nigerians have complained about appointments coming in a way where we found square pegs and round holes. We complain about it when we see ministerial, nominations and appointments. And I'm not surprised that Nigerians are worried that when it comes to what we've talked about for almost 2 years now, this ambassadorial posting, we are still seeing indications of we just have a political compensation. Nothing critical, nothing deliberate, nothing methodical about these postings, if you understand what I'm saying. I agree with you, for example, with Jᴏɪᴅ Ibrahim to the United Nations. I'm not questioning his level of education, but one would have thought that that's a position that has been reserved for a career diplomat.
Yeah.
You understand? So how they decided I was going to go to a non-career diplomat is what I don't understand. Because in some of the positions you can see that some of them were reserved for career diplomats. But again, for this government to have even delayed this ambassadorial posting till this time, it probably shows that they were not even really committed or intentional about these things. Let me just do it for the sake of doing it, maybe. If you understand what I'm saying. So I'm not surprised that some of them appear completely like political compensation. If you look at the list, you have a lot of people who probably have been waiting for them to also get a bite on the pie. They've probably worked for the party, whether as members of the party or members of the opposition. So this is their own time to get compensated. Ikeazu is there, Ogwani, the G5 people are there. You understand what I'm saying? So on what basis are those ones appointed as ambassadors? Sage. Other than the fact that, well, as G5, they needed to be compensated. So if you look at the roll call of the G5 governors now, Wike has been heavily compensated. Ogwani as ambassador now compensated. Ikeazu as ambassador now compensated. I don't know why they've left out the Benue State former governor. What was his name? Otto. I don't know whether something is going to come for him too. Seyi Makinde has refused to be compensated. You understand? So, but you know that is completely political. For people like Reno is coming in just like Daniel Bwala. Make all of the noise in the world, bring them in for whatever reason for them to take back their work, ridicule them. So it's just what it is. It's sent to Mexico. He's going to be there just faffing around basically. That's what he's been doing. I think he's currently climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and I don't know what is so special about climbing that mountain. So
it's symbolic for him, a sign of strength.
Symbolic to climb. So how does that help Nigerians? How does that project Nigerians in any way?
It's personal development, personal.
He's talking about Kilimanjaro, in a country where they've been able to build their tourism industry. What's the level of tourism in Nigeria? How well are we able to earn foreign exchange, bringing people to see some of our tourism locations in Nigeria? So, and then Fanika is going to Germany. People have questioned his temperament. He's a man that is known for having short temperament. He can just blow up anytime. Any little thing, he blows it up. But whatever it is, congratulations to all these people. I think we can move on with our lives. But in my own estimation of what we have on the list, it's more about political compensation than anything strategic when it comes to international diplomacy.
Well, we would see by their performance, we will know them, right? But again, there's still a lot of fears about capability, as I said, in countries like China, in countries like Germany. Well, we do have a reasonable relationship.
Mahmoud Yakub, former INEC chairman, is going to Qatar.
Well, how good is our relationship with the UAE generally? Do we have a good relationship with the UAE?
Well, the president was there recently. It's not a completely bad relationship. Okay. The only problem we have is that the UAE has this reluctance to allow Nigerians coming like they used to allow us coming, because again we become almost like Nigerians have turned themselves to a problem in that country. Yeah. Cultism, all manner of illegalities, rascality, gangsterism, and so that's why there's a lot of restriction on who can come into the country. But beyond that, I think at the level of government, the relationship is not completely bad.
All right then. Trends in the papers, Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. I'm having a conversation with Fuad Side. We're looking at our papers, The Guardian specifically, and we're telling you all the things that happened over the course of the weekend and the recent development on said stories. Let's still stay with the papers. We have Chief of Army Staff denies loss of officer, 39 soldiers in Ngozi Boko Haram attack. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shuaibu, has denied reports that an officer and 39 soldiers were killed in Boko Haram attack on Ngozi, Borno State, which claimed over 100 lives on Tuesday. Lieutenant General Shuaibu made the clarification on Saturday during a one-day official visit to assess damages to lives, vehicles and equipment at the Mai Malari cantonment in Maiduguri. He said the Sahara reporter's claim of 40 soldiers killed in Ngozi is false. He noted that the report relied largely on what he described as unverified sources from other security agencies in the state. The Chief of Army Staff explained that during a 3-hour closed-door meeting at the Theatre Command and Control Center, it was confirmed that only a few soldiers, along with their commander, lost their lives while defending the border community in Cameroon, and lamented that the report presented a distorted account of event, failing to acknowledge the gallantry of troops who bravely defended 4 other communities against coordinated terrorist assaults last week. Fuad, Borno State suffered a very terrible loss. Now, Sahara reporters had told us, or pegged the death of military personnel to about 40, right? About 39 soldiers and an officer who had died. Now, the casualty figures for the civilians is still pegged at around 100. You can never really get a perfect figure with things like this. But we have the Chief of Army Staff saying that pegging the deaths of military personnel to 40 is actually wrong. They did not give us a specific figure or a range.
I was going to ask you,
no,
do they have a figure?
They did not give us a figure, neither did they.
But I'm sure by now they have a figure.
But we have Sahara reporters that's claiming that the casualty figure for security personnel is something around 40. So that's the discussion on that.
And should we be arguing about whether it's 40 or not up to 40? Should that even be the conversation? Say, I'm wondering why the Chief of Army Staff has decided to focus on numbers and not on the fact that we are losing our soldiers. Not just junior soldiers, we are also losing top-ranking soldiers to this fight against insurgency, Boko Haram particularly. You know, there have been consistent attacks now to different parts of Borno State by Boko Haram elements. I've seen quite a number of disturbing videos about how these people were moving in droves, how some of the soldiers in the battlefield were trying to reach out to their superior, and they did not get any help. Well, it's not been confirmed, but the video has been circulating. How these guys were trying to reach out to their theater command, talking about the movements of these people before they eventually attacked them, and help did not come. So I think even if we lose 1 or 2 soldiers, we should not be losing our soldiers to these elements. It's as bad as even if you lose if you lose about 40 soldiers. So I'm surprised that the focus is now on the numbers, not on the fact that look, we cannot continue to lose our soldiers to these deranged elements called Boko Haram or whatever name you call them. And if they are saying Sahara reporters, you know that's how they deny the coup plot. When Sahara reporters and Premium Times came up with the report of an attempted coup, only for them to accept that there was indeed a coup. So it will be difficult for any Nigerian now to believe that these soldiers who have died, their numbers is not up to 40. Their numbers are not up to 40. But whether it is 5 or 10 or 1 or 2, the Nigerian army must understand that Nigerians are not happy that we are losing our soldiers to this fight. We appreciate their gallantry. We appreciate their sacrifice, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But again, it is just normal that Nigerians will begin to question why we are getting most of our soldiers killed. In this Middle East war alone, US has lost 6 soldiers. You can see the way they take it. Just the 6 new, it's even wrong to say just. They've lost 6 soldiers. But you can see that, look, they didn't take it like a joke. President Trump and it's almost his entire cabinet had to go and give complete honor to these soldiers, 6 of them. 6. We are talking about 40, 20, 30 years, and nobody cares really.
We care for it, and that's what we were talking about. I know what you mean, but I mean, we should even care more, is the point that I'm trying to make here. These people voluntarily offer themselves up to be the line of defense, to be the first person that goes down in the events of attack, and I think that they deserve better treatment. They deserve better acknowledgement. And as you said, what does it matter, the quantity of people that have died? People have died is the most quintessential part of this conversation. People who are supposed to be the ones to protect us, and in turn expect that the government at least minimize casualty as much as they know what they signed up for. Doesn't mean that they have to be or they have to be killed in their line of duty. It's very, very sad there. But then there's civilian casualties as well. For that side, unfortunately, people were caught in the crosshairs, even as the security personnel were trying to defend these particular communities. At least 100 people have died. For 100 is a lot, and it's so sad that our minds have become so conditioned as some sort of protection effects that we just subconsciously have as Nigerians, where we hear 200 people die and we cannot mentally grasp the enormity of 100 people, 200 people, 250 people dying. Our mind just cannot wrap around it anymore. As I said, I just believe that this is how the Nigerians have decided to protect themselves from the enormity of this carnage that is going on in the country.
It's unfortunate that we have tried to normalize the abnormal. And it could be just a way of helping ourselves psychologically before we all go crazy. Because again, it's not easy to wake up every day. It's just like the job we do, Sage. Like I said, there are information that we have access to, we get. from very reliable sources that we don't have to even, we cannot just put them on air. We cannot even talk about them. The same thing for the print media. You know, there's a lot of gatekeeping going on. Not everything that they have access to, that they put out there, they have to gatekeep some of this information for public sanity. And it's unfortunate that we have now gotten to the point where when these numbers come, we just take it as normal. We move on with our lives. We are waiting for the next thing to happen. We talk about it, that you are talking about it now, and we move on again. It's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate indeed. I hope that they're able to do something, set up some sort of security structure that can protect the people in Borno. So I think Borno, Kwara, these areas have suffered continued violence over the last couple of
you know, this was one of the issues that, because people thought it was just about the past of Daniel Bwala. Right. On the issue of insecurity, so that Media Zan was giving data and statistics. Right? Yes. It was not just about his past alone. On the issue of insecurity, Daniel Bwala could not even defend anything. Because in reality... Yeah, because in reality, the data shows that, look, yes, this government met a serious issue with insecurity, but they made it worse, or it's been worse under them. They've not really been able to have a handle on it. So if you're going to be looking at the data and statistics, insecurity has gotten worse under this government. And that's just the fact.
Very sad indeed. We're still looking at the Guardian newspaper. For outside, food inflation fears resonate over Middle East crisis. The riders, US-Israel-Iran war could reverse Nigeria's inflation gain, says experts. Importers decry higher freight cost. Budget revenue gets boost as oil price soar. Now, as military action escalates between the United States, Israel and Iran, the near closure of the Strait of Hormuz has sent shockwaves across nations, with Nigeria also bearing the brunt. Now, what began as a promising decline in Nigeria's food inflation has been put at risk by the upheaval in the Middle East and a near standstill in shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The crisis has driven global oil prices to multi-month high, boosting revenue prospect for Nigeria's oil sector. But the effect on freight rate, fuel costs, agricultural input prices threaten to reverse the hard-won progress against domestic food price pressure. This is because disruption at one of the world's most critical maritime trade arteries have not only sent crude prices climbing, but also squeezing transportation and fertilizer supply chain, factors that could translate into renewed food prices inflation for Nigerian consumer as no relief appear in sight. This is a conversation that we had earlier for outside, and I think that we spoke about how Nigeria currently has no buffer when it comes to the effect of economic shocks. Every time that there's a global disruption, Nigeria is always on the list of countries that suffers the economic consequence. And it's even more painful for Nigeria being an oil-producing nation, because the oil windfalls, we've seen countries that have stabilized their economies with situations like this one. I think crude oil is now selling for $110 per barrel. And
close to it. As I yesterday, I think it was about $95. I'm sure it's already close to $100.
BBC was reporting about 100 thereabouts and projecting that it might be about 110 if this.
Keeping up with these kinds of figures will be difficult because it's almost like a daily thing.
Exactly.
So it's just jumping, yeah.
And the thing is, Nigeria now is supposed to make more money. I think we had pegged our crude oil in the budget to, I think, $75 per barrel.
$75 per barrel, yeah.
It's a good thing, or would have been
supposed to be a good thing.
But unfortunately, we are an imports-dependent nation. There's going to also be problems with bringing in commodities like fertilizers, seed, and other things. So most of the resources that we make from this windfall will be put back to compensate for all of our other inadequacies in other areas of our economy, and we would not benefit at all from this windfall based on the structure that we currently have on ground economically in Nigeria.
Well, Sage, it's just what it is. If you look at the Punch in itself is reporting that the NNPC may have to look at how to source for crude supply, crude oil for Dangote refinery. Because again, like in the US, people have said, also in the US, price of gas has gone up. And I said, look, already the US is looking at how to solve the problem. So what they are trying to do now, and I think, there are suggestions already in the government, space, that they should go into their strategic reserve. You understand? That's what the US has got, the largest strategic reserve, crude oil reserve in the world. So they might just be looking into it to at least mitigate the effect of this global rising price of crude oil, if you understand what I'm saying. So Do we have strategic reserves? Crude oil strategic reserves? I don't think so. The sad part of it all is that, look, let us all just begin to thank God that at least we have Dangote refinery. Just imagine there's no Dangote. We'll probably be looking at buying petrol now for like 1,500, even I think 2,000 to a liter. Because again, you know what we've done? We've taken away subsidy completely. We deregulated the downstream. So it's about worth of things in the global market. But thank God for Dangote. But the problem now is that Dangote too has stopped loading sage. And I think people need to understand that, look, in reality, Dangote does not owe us anything, sage. Because I've seen people say, oh, Dangote this, Dangote that. I'm like, this is a private business owner. It wasn't as if you guys did anything spectacular to help him put up that refinery. Remember, Sage, we were supposed to invest 20% in that refinery. ᴑᴇᴅ and his goons bungled the whole thing, only for us to know that they only did about 7-point-something%. That 20% was supposed to help Dangote when he was trying to put up the refinery. Somehow we didn't do that. Were we not here when Dangote said even the land, I paid $100 million, how much did he pay? So he paid practically for everything. Now, the only way we are trying to help him, because I've seen people who have also misinformed Nigerians that, oh, at least they are giving him crude. No, Sage. It's not as if the crude Nigeria is even giving to him. It's going to him free. The only thing we agreed with him, and even the agreement we have not been able to fulfill, was to give him crude in Naira, Sage. Naira for crude, right? To pay, the ability to be able to pay for the Nigerian crude in Naira. But the price is still at the international market price. It's not as if it's a subsidized price. In fact, Dangote has even come out to say that sometimes he pays premium to get the Nigerian crude. That if he does his calculation very well, sometimes the Nigerian crude is even more expensive than the ones he buys from abroad. The only thing is that he's allowed to pay in Naira. The other problem is this too. They had an arrangement, Sage, that I think he should be given how many cargoes? I think he should be given about 15 cargoes every month. Now, according to Dangote, he doesn't get up to that. I think he gets only about how many cargoes? A larger part of what is required for him to produce is still imported into the country. Every month he does about 18 million barrels. According to information, he still imports about 12 million barrels. Only about 6 million barrels is provided for him locally. So in this situation now, we don't have enough crude to give the only local refinery that can give us petrol. We are not probably going to be able to produce enough to also get some good foreign exchange now that crude oil prices are at an all-time high. So if you put everything together, we are in a bad situation. We can't produce enough. We are not meeting our OPEC quota. The people that are importing now, that are saying they must continue to import, let them go and import now. And let us see how much they will sell it.
Well,
so yes, I'm with you.
I just wanted to add that marketers had earlier said Dangote had stopped offloading, but Dangote says that's not the truth. Yet we will continue to offload. It's just that the prices would reflect what's going on the global market. So they most likely will be an increase in the gantry price.
If you are Dangote now that we have this galloping price of crude oil all over the world, you are not even sure of what will happen tomorrow. Just last week, we're still dealing with $80 per barrel, right?
Right.
Today, we are already shooting 100.
It's by the hour, Fuad. By the hour.
It's almost by the hour. So, if you are done with it, what would you do? Would you just continue to offload without being cautious of how you offload? What you would do is to watch the market. You are not going to continue to just offload anyhow. Because what if you wake up tomorrow is $120 per barrel? What would you do?
You run at a loss.
So you would, as a private business owner who is looking at his books and calculations very well, is going to be very careful. And that is why we would have been able to solve this problem, for example, if we have our own local refineries working. If we are able to produce enough crude. Like I just told you, already in the US, already been discussed that they should go into their strategic reserves. Once they do that, they have local refineries in the US who can produce at least to mitigate the effect. It might not go so low, but at least they are able to stabilize things for their people until when this whole crisis is over. But I'm sorry, like you just said, we have nothing to absorb the shock. There's nothing to protect Nigerians. Unless government wants to introduce subsidy again. You know the problem with subsidy.
It's from frying pan to fire. So
the fire.
just leave us as we are, or at least try to improve, our buffers, our economic buffers. I think that it's ridiculous because things that are supposed to be beneficial are not beneficial because of structural deficiency. So fix these structural deficiencies. Oil windfall should be a blessing to Nigeria and not ultimately a curse for the cost of living. It's an irony that I would never be able to wrap my mind around. Anyways.
And Sage, sorry, if anybody is anywhere in Lagos seeing a liter of fuel being sold at 1,030, 1,040, 1,050, it is because you are in Lagos. There are parts of the
1.5 outside, 1.5 in some areas of the north or thereabouts.
Good. And in most of these areas, that is where the food we eat are produced. So farmers are already complaining seriously. Cost of transportation in urban centers are already going up. Farmers who also move their goods around are already complaining bitterly. So overall, we're in trouble. It's just what it is.
Well, NLC raises alarm over alleged plan to spend 20 billion naira on grid expansion. The NLC has alleged a plan by some officials operating a cabal within the TCN to spend nearly 20 billion for grid expansion. The NLC alleged that the plan to spend the 20 billion from TCN covers under the guise of emergency refurbishment looks like a contrivance to fleece the company that was already saddled with fiscal challenges. He said the cabal within the TCN was hoping to use of emergency to allegedly bypass due process and bury the crime in a bazaar of paperwork. So that is that particular report. Well, once again, we have conversations around the power sector and the inadequacies within the power sector. The TCN is being operated by the government. As you know, that's the only area that has not been privatized. And Joe is trying to call our attention to the fact that if they spend these 20 billion, antecedent already shows us that they've not been successful when it comes to management, and this might actually make them poorer and less efficient.
So I missed a part of the conversation, Sage. Yes, I think there was a little picture.
The NLC is raising concerns about the TCN and that there's an alleged plot that they want to spend 20 billion naira for grid expansion. And just they're just calling the TCN out. That antecedent tells us that you're not very great, you're not very prudent with finances, and 20 billion would just be an absolute waste of money.
It will be completely. I agree with Joe. He's also from the system. He understands the power sector very well, because if you are talking about expanding the grid, it will first mean that we've identified the problematic areas with our grid. What exactly are we expanding? You can't expand something that is deficient now. You expand more problem. It means that you'll be expanding problem than solving the problem. So are we replacing power stations, equipment? What exactly are we expanding? It's not as if we are fixing the problem. We want to expand something that is not working. This grid is completely incompetent. It's a problematic grid. Have you noticed now that power supply has been completely, it has been terrible?
Small, yeah.
It's been terrible because the discos are complaining that, look, they are not getting enough. The Gencos are saying the gas suppliers are not producing enough gas. They are not supplying them enough. And so the little that they are even able to do, when they put it on the grid, it collapses. So the entire power sector value chain is completely ineffective. So this 20 billion is just, I'm sorry, it will just be money for the boys. We'll just throw it in and nothing will change. I'm telling you, and I agree with Joe on this one.
Well, I'll read the rest of the headlines. We're pressed for time. We have 2027 polls will be Nigerians against bad leaders, says Peter Obi. Well, he has picked up his ticket. No, that's not the word.
Party membership
form. That's the word. Party membership form of the
So officially, he's a member of the ADC
he
now.
He declared, but now he is a member of the ADC. We have PDP, Makinde, Wike camps confident as appeal court rules today. I think they have 2 cases, actually. God will see them through.
No, they've consolidated the cases. So the appeal court, all the case of PDP now,
they're waiting for the appeal court.
So the appeal will decide from Lamido's case to the convention to week, everything that they are fighting over. The appeal court will make a decision on that today.
Let's see what the appeal court says today. We have FAC subcommittee gets 11.5 billion naira for 2026 budget planning.
To plan budget, you are getting 11 billion. To plan the budget, too.
The different subcommittees will meet, they'll work together and everything.
So that's why 11 billion has to go to them, too.
Fuel is cost for it. They are going to drive to the venues. Concerns of suspected thugs demolish 50 Lagos building. We have Kara Bridge. Federal government direct 14-day diversion of traffic for outbound Lagos repairs. We also have here, the Vanguard is reporting IGP appoints DCP Anthony Placid as new force public relations officer. I think it was still a rumor with Benjamin Hundain, but I don't know, the Vanguard is reporting it. Fuad, if you can, in a few seconds, we have a commercial.
No. Well, we were thought that it was going to be this other guy. There was a name that was flying around. I've forgotten the name now. But now we have a new first PRO. We wish him well because he's going to be speaking with the media a lot. Right. So we'll see how he's able to do the job. We also, congratulate our friend Hundain. He's done his own beat. So I will wish him well in his future endeavors.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Fuad. That's all we have for analysis. We're due for a break. We're back at 8:40 for Mainland Focus. Stay with us.